I can still see butter.
About on time at 7 minutes past. Doing quite well for us. So, here we all are, and it's lovely to be together again. And as we start today, thanks, we'll start. I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal owners of the land on which we are meeting, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we always pay our respects to their elders, past and present.
The microphone's not working.
The microphone's not working?
Well,
I can, but I have to know I have to.
it's on.
Yeah. Maybe it needs to go louder.
Testing 1, 2, 5.
Oh, it seems to be working out here, but not in there.
Oh.
You can try just picking up that one and turn that one.
Sorry.
This one working? Is it coming through the speakers at all? It doesn't sound like it. Bo's the master.
Yeah, try that one.
Hello? Is that working?
No. Give it a shot.
Okay, we'll work with this one for the moment, that's fine. So, where was I? Yeah, I'll say it again, it's always well worth saying. As we start today, I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal owners of the land on which we're meeting today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And we acknowledge that we do church on land that was stolen and never ceded. And for those meeting online, welcome into this space as well, and may you perhaps just take a moment to pay respects to the Aboriginal owners of the land where you're meeting. We also have our affirming statement that we are a fully affirming community, fully committed to being a safe place for all people who are connected to this community in whatever way, regardless of gender, sexuality, race, family background, economic situation, regardless of how old you are, where you come from, what abilities you have, what languages you speak, what religion, spiritual path, tradition, and ethical conviction. Everyone is welcome here, and we want everyone to feel safe here. So welcome, and we have a particular welcome to a number of visitors actually. We've got our panel, who John will no doubt introduce a little bit more later, but just rapidly, Ian, Peter and Diane, and Spice, spouses, that's plural for spouses.
That's an interesting interpretation.
Peter and I'm terrible with names. Carolyn, so like I said, terrible with names. And we have Simon, I knew it started with an S, and Leslie, are you kind of a visitor? No, you're not really a visitor, you're part of the furniture. So it's just lovely to have you, and no doubt there are people online who may be visiting, in which case welcome, but welcome to all our online people as well.
Merryl, we've also got quite a few parents of the Melbourne Marathon this morning supporting all their kids running the marathon, if you're wondering where they are.
Yes. So the fact that half our congregation this morning are visitors, we're not usually that little, but there's a Melbourne Marathon on, and there's a whole lot of parents who are waiting at the MCG for all these sweaty people to turn up to congratulate them for them. So that's where about half our congregation will be at the moment. apart from those who are travelling. So as we begin, we're going to bring ourselves into a moment where we pause and we separate ourselves into this space from the spaces that have been before, for whatever it is that we go back out to, and allow ourselves to have this time and space as something a bit different. So I invite you to either close your eyes or look at the picture, or whatever it is that helps you find some peace in your mind as I take us through a meditation. Let us commit ourselves to pause, to rest for a time, to be aware of what we are doing to ourselves. And to sit in a time of peaceful reflection. Let us allow this space, this place, to offer its care to us. Restful in its quiet. Away from the hustle and bustle of our everyday life. As we sit in the silence, let us lay down our lists of things to do. Our concerns and matters for decision. Believing that to do this is to invite greater clarity and new energy later. As we bring this time to a close, I invite Jocelyn to come up and light the Christ candle. The lighting of this candle joins us with people around the world who long for peace, all sorts of peace, for all people. So again, we have a panel. This week, some people who have maybe a little bit more life experience than last week, so we're getting a bit of a thread, a life journey of people who've thought a bit about the whole church thing, what about it is irritating, annoying. We could all enter into good conversations there. And John's going to introduce them and anything he needs to say about that. But so, what of church is the overlying theme of last week and this week. Why is it just us here? Why is it not something that seems to be very relevant to people? What's church missing? What might it have to offer? Anyway, we'll see what questions John comes up with for our panel. So over to you, John. And welcome to the panel again.
Thank you. And Ian and Peter and Diane might join us. Peter, can I move that?
You can move that.
Just a reminder that all talking has to be done into the microphone or our online people won't be able to hear it. So,
Thanks, Merrill. Welcome. Particular welcome to Ian, Peter and Diane. Thank you for coming. It's great to have you here. It's great to have a variety of people from different experiences come and have a chat with us. And today's about having a chat around church and just exploring what church means for these people today and what church might mean for us as we plan our future. So I've got half a dozen questions, which I think is ambitious. So we'll see how we go, but I'm hoping to find a bit of time at the end to allow you to ask some questions as well. So rather than me introduce each of you, I thought you might introduce yourselves and just give us a quick summary of who you are and where church fits into your life at the moment. We'll start with you, Aaron.
Well, thank you, John and Merrill. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's great to do church like in this style, very much the cafe style, which is very relevant in Australia. Look, my context very, very quickly. I'm being semi-retired for about the last 8 years. I was previously an assistant principal, and now I do a whole range of things, working with the university, running a weekly podcast, do work with men at my own church, do a lot of voluntary work, Vinnie's, and help manage a choir. And might I mention, that's our point of connection here with Rosemary.
How did it go with Rosemary?
Oh, in terms of the choir?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Wonderful. And my wife Carolyn here, she's actually the conductor.
Oh,
but we'll give you some feedback if you're leaving. But so briefly, that's my context. A range of other things that I do with grandchildren and stuff like that.
Good.
Good morning, my name's Peter Lever. I came here flippantly preaching inclusion and welcoming, and I walk in here and I've thrown away that script because it's here already. I thought who I am, start off with a little, very short quote from a 12-year-old granddaughter. And this defines for me where I've come to. My nickname for them is Pop Pop. Thank you so much, Pop Pop, for always making me comfortable to talk to you about anything. And I think that's the basis for Christian community in wider society. I think I've always been a mystic. I call myself a contemplative mystic. That probably makes sense to some of you, I don't know, but not a lot of people understand that. I think I've always been that, even from a teenager. I grew up in a Presbyterian, then Uniting church, faded out because of what I saw as all the dualism, floating around in preaching. Never had a bad experience in a church, it just didn't relate to me. And then cotton on to Wellspring, associated with the Ashburton Baptist Church. John, no doubt, brainwashed you and all that. Mainly through the Christian Meditation Group and other things, including a men's group. And I really, really struggled to sit through a traditional church service. I just don't go. So for me, it's silence and solitude. Yeah, strangely. So that's my background.
This space isn't new to me. We were here many, many years ago when it looked quite different. So we even came through the wrong door. So to see literally a cafe style in here, it's really strange to connect what my memory of this place is and what it looks like today. I have a Catholic church background and I attended 8:15 Mass on a Sunday all my life, and it was a revelation to me that Anglicans, Presbyterians, Church of Christ even existed, and not until I was at uni. So, you know, that background was a very sheltered one for me. Since then, I've experienced lots of different kinds of churches, perhaps not quite like this one. So, and I don't feel like I can say very much about what you're doing here, because this is obviously very different to what you were doing when I was here. As to why we don't go to church anymore, we were going to church, we have a young family. I was working, Peter was working obviously. I used to work on a Saturday morning, and Sundays became the only day of rest for me. And when our kids struggled to get up and want to come to church, it was just one more battle that I didn't want to face. So I guess gradually we disconnected because it just became a bit too hard. And I needed that one day of the week where I didn't have to get them up out of bed, dressed and ready to attend at a certain time again for something. So yeah, and then over the years you just get busy and it's not in your life anymore, and it's not in your life anymore. And as technology has developed, I feel that I can connect into spiritualism, meditation, thoughts, any time of the night or day via the internet and podcasts and people and conversations and whatever. I don't have to be here at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning to get a fix of that. So that also helps not attending. Yeah. And it's not that I don't think about God. I do. My relationship with God waxes and wanes because as we get older, and for all of us in this room, life is hard. And when life is hard, you do wonder what it's all about. Where is God in that hardship? And yeah, in my family recently, 2 young people have passed away. And that's hard. That's hard. So it's tricky. Yeah, it's tricky.
Thank you. So my first question is, so the church in Australia for a long time was very strong. Massive numbers of people going regularly on a Sunday morning. And there was a lot of and the church had a massive influence politically and in communities, etc. But that's declined. So less than 10% of the population attend church every week. So it's a massive shift in Australia's demographics around church attendance. So I just wonder for each of you, what do you think's changed? What's happened that this has happened?
It's a huge question, very complex as far as I'm concerned, but I'm going to try and use some other authorities to perhaps express the answer that I've got. Of course, the Royal Commission into child sexual abuse did not help one bit, and I know that certainly had an impact on certainly the numbers within the Catholic Church. I've also been looking at the research from Mark McCrindle, from McCrindle Research, and I think this was done in about the year 2000, and he was saying these type, from his surveys, these were the major reasons why people were turning away from the church. So I'll just quote some of these. 47% of the folks surveyed found that church was just irrelevant to their life. 26% don't accept how it is taught, the style it's taught. And Merrill, you're not to take any offence to any of these things. No, I'm sure you won't. 24% said it was outdated in style. 22% said there were issues with clergy and ministers. Disagreements, I would imagine. 19% said that they just plainly don't believe in the Bible. And then there was 18% said that they were just too busy. I also asked, so there's some quite clear stats, okay, that are empirical, you could say. And I just wonder whether they're fairly similar to this point in time today. Another one is that asking ourselves the question, and again, as we're having this conversation, John, I do want to try and not be too bleak, but look for some positives as well. But I will just add a couple of other points. We ask ourselves this question, are we really connected with the community outside these walls? Okay, look at the street that we live in and all the people that live down there. And as an example, do we welcome people who come into our church? Now, my wife and I, as an example, we were up at Merryl Blair this last week, just to get a bit of nice warmth and sunshine up in the Gold Coast, or the Sunshine Coast. And we decided on Sunday morning we'd go to church. I just quickly checked on the internet. There were 3 that we could choose from. We chose a Uniting Church to go to. So we walked down. It was about a 10-15 minute walk from our hotel. We walked in, and it was about, I'd say, 30 to 40 people within the congregation. Not too far dissimilar to this morning. And not one person spoke to us. In fact, there was not one person on the door to welcome you. We sat down, we listened to the service, we listened to the program, and then we thought we'd wait afterwards. And I mean, we've got to be in mind, it's a two-way thing. We've got to be a little bit proactive as well. But we thought, well, just to see how it goes. And my wife and I, we just waited there for probably, I don't know, a couple of minutes. Still no one approached us, and we just got up and we just left. So this story is far too often. It really is. And I have to admit, just in contrast, we went to the Australia Zoo. We watched a show in there, Crocodile, whatever it's called. And within 2 moments, there's an audience, let's say of 1,000 people, 2 young ladies came out, and within, I'd say, 10 seconds, they had us in the group in their hand, the way that they were connecting with us. But it doesn't matter what it was, in fact, they were connecting. And you felt that this person, I'm really zoning in, I'm listening to them, I'm part of what the conversation is, and I feel part of this audience, I feel part of this situation, and I feel embraced. We can learn a lot from some of these other things that are going on out there in the world. So I feel that we have to take a really good look and a think. And I will mention one other thing too. Recently, I'll come back to this, had a round table conversation with a number of prominent Australians with regard to this related question. How can we visualise, or how can we imagine a thriving church in Australia in 2035? One of the folk that I had on the round table was Hugh McKay. And one of the things he said, maybe we're asking the wrong question of what it's going to be like, but maybe we should be asking ourselves the question, how can we serve the people in our community? What can we provide for them that's going to be actually something that's going to be useful? And so that's also, it's added on to my series of questions that can be asked that are going to be helpful going forward. So that's me in terms of why we're at where we're at the moment.
I'm going to quote my granddaughter again. The wisdom comes from there. In this instance, she's now 13. The previous quote was when she was 12. And quickly doing the maths now, and going 9 years back when she was 3 years old. And I took her into the art centre for a show, and we came out, and she looked across Swanson Street from the street at St Paul's Cathedral. And I don't know where this came from, but I suspect there are other grandparents in America. Can we go there, pop, into the church? And I'm going, okay. So we went over there and meet and greet, that was great. Sat in, she said, I want to sit in those pews. Okay. And I want to pray, she said. So 3 years old. So we went to the pews, and me being the benevolent, wise grandfather, looked at her and said, what do you want to pray about? And she looked at me and said, you sit over there, pop, I'll do my own praying. 3 years old. Maybe that's the answer. let people do their own praying. And you just provide, the community. And that's always stuck with me. So in the meditation group, it comes out eventually, people's faith structure doesn't matter. They come, we sit in solitude, there's a small talk by the World Community Christian Meditation, and we sit in silence, and then out of that we go up into the cafe. We're also Ashburton Baptist Church, and we're renowned for being the loudest group. After the silence, out of the silence comes all this incredible discussion and arguments and all that stuff. So as I said, I brought up in a presbytery as a kid. I'm told we had the largest Sunday school in the Southern Hemisphere, in the Murrumbeena Presbyterian Church. And the minister at some stage, as I got older, said, do I want to be a minister? And I often reflect on that, and my immediate reaction is no. And I said, lovely guy, great experience, but they're telling you what to think. The interpretation, for me, particularly the gospel, is just are off course and don't relate often. And yet I go back and read some of it now and I go, wow, there's all this meaning in there. So I obviously come from a background of craving solitude, and that does not exist in my experience. In churches, it may now. I haven't been to a church for 20 years other than funerals and weddings. So that's solid listening, silence, listening to people, listening to whoever comes in through the door, listening if anyone comes in, being there and listen to them and listen about their lives and give them a safe place. In the men's work I've done in particular, and other work as a spiritual director, it's this safety, a safe place to be where you're not judged, you're not told you're wrong, and you're just accepted as you are. And I without going on too long, I think that's the crux. How that manifests itself is a whole other issue, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, or I think social media's got to be part of it. That's, I think the church has been stuck in its own interpretation and dynamic for far too long and hasn't moved on.
I'm the only one with no papers in front of me here, so I'm feeling...
You've got a good memory.
I'm almost tempted to ask, what was the question again? I just have two things to add. I went for a walk with my son the other day and asked him why he didn't go to church. And he said to me, it would just feel, he would feel like an alien walking in because he has no idea about what church is like. Because his memory of church, he was just little when we didn't go to church anymore, so I guess all of his life he hasn't been to church. So for me to hear that from him was quite strange, to think that he would feel that way. But I guess if you've got no experience of it, then all you've got are your preconceived ideas of what it might be. So perhaps people don't come to the door, not because of what you don't provide, but because of what's inside them and what they can't imagine. So I think that's a problem. It's not what you're not doing or doing, it's what's going on in people's heads about what they think church is. How you change that, I'm not quite sure. But I think that's important to think about, because I think it looks like you're prepared, and I think that's all you can be. You just need to be prepared for whoever walks in the door. And your mission, your welcoming statement says that you are. You're prepared. So be prepared. That's all I can add to that, really.
That's very wise. Thank you. So I'm going to skip questions a bit here. We're here for a long time, aren't we? Which is probably a good thing. When I spoke to Diane, you talked about the issue of fluff. Do you want to just talk us through what that means for you, and I'll get the others to respond?
I regret everything. Okay, fluff for me, I equate that with the platitudes that we often hear in our Christian lives. So, for instance, my sister's daughter was killed last year in a hit-and-run accident. And my sister, her mum, had already passed away many years ago. So that's a family cleaved in half by these two deaths. And, you know, the word spreads around and people come to you and talk about it, and someone said to me that Tess was now in heaven with her mother. And I thought, you know what, that just doesn't cut it for me anymore. I think I need more than that. And when someone says God works in mysterious ways, I need more than that. And when God says, when people say to me that God has a plan, we just don't understand it, I need more than that. So that's the definition of the fluff that I'm talking about, that I need more than that to enable me to understand my grief, their grief, and how to talk about grief in a way that's meaningful and not just with platitudes that I've grown up with that may sound good but don't make any sense to me anymore, and I don't really want to hear it. Yeah, it makes me angry.
Do you want to add anything to that?
Another story.
Granddaughter?
Not this time. As a work colleague, single mum, daughter in her 20s, struggle life. I think I don't know a lot about her life, but struggle life. And then one day we met on the job, and she said, my daughter fell down some stairs and broke her neck and killed herself. And, sorry, I get a bit worked up, but I just sat and listened. And she said to me afterwards, you're the only one that actually listened. Everyone throws around fluff. You'll be all right. You'll get over it. Time will heal you. All this bullshit. And all it needs is listen.
To add to the conversation, mine's a little bit different or further afield. I go to the question, are we really walking the talk of what we're espousing in church? And are some of our statements that we have as vision statements have been unrealistic? I'll come back to yours in a moment, Merryl, but if I can quote one, a church that's in a particular area that I live in, Melbourne, they're saying that they're building, what their vision statement is, that they're building a growing community, vibrant Jesus followers, visibly impacting our spheres, shaping our city, and serving our world. And I'm thinking, how will we actually accurately measure that? And are they just being a little bit unrealistic? Now, Rosemary, I do know that you're going to be leading a song in a little while, but I also, if I go now to some of the songs or hymns or choruses that we sing in church as well, are we really thinking of the lyrics and how realistic and how tangible and how relatable they are to the world that we live in today? I do find at times when I'm actually singing, I'm enjoying the music, but then I take a moment to really think and consolidate and take in the meaning of the words, and I think, my goodness, is this how I really do feel? And am I being fair to think that that's going to actually happen when I walk outside the walls of the church? So that's probably where, in terms of talking the fluff, we need to just be real, be honest, because the people out there in the world, particularly our millennials, they cut through it very, very quickly when it's not real.
No pressure with the next song, Roger.
We're just changing it, okay?
Sorry,
Let's leave it on Rosemary.
Wow.
And might I just also add, Merryl, thank you for your statement of welcome. Sorry, thank you for your statement of welcome, because it is very embracing, far-reaching, and people need to feel that level of acceptance, because at this day and age, I feel as though many people out there in the world don't feel accepted in this space, and that's been alluded to by our other panelists.
So at this point, I'm thinking we're not going to get through too many more questions. That was just a really helpful answer from all of you around that question. It's such an important issue. The last question I'll go to, and then we'll probably have time for one from the congregation, from the membership. The Jesus story has a very strong focus around transformation. So this issue of, the story of Jesus being, the whole resurrection story is around transformation. You look at the story of the disciples and the change on their journey, and that same transformation is available to each of us, but it seems to have got lost in the implementation in churches. So I'm just wondering whether you've got any commentary around that issue.
A nice easy one for you.
You said I could pass.
Yeah, you can pass, absolutely.
You want me to start off? For the next half hour.
You've got 2 minutes.
There's this passage in the Gospels, I don't know which one, I'm not a chapter and verse person, where the disciples asked Jesus, why do you speak to the crowds in parables? And Jesus' reply, paraphrasing it obviously, is that they will not understand how I speak to you. So I'm reading between the lines. There's a different conversation going on between the masses and Jesus and disciples. The other observation is, again, my understanding, is that it took quite a long time for the disciples to get, the male disciples to get it. And again, it's my reading between the lines that the female disciples got it far quicker than the male disciples. The other comment to think about, which I won't fill out, is it's just a bold, stirring statement, if you like. Maybe a lot less of the Jesus stuff and a lot more of the Christ stuff.
The only thing I can add to that is a conversation I had with my daughter, because also just being on this panel has sparked quite a bit of discussion in the family, which has been good, actually. But she's now a mum of a soon-to-be 3-year-old, and her comment was that we need to know the stories. You know, it's a bit like math. It's a bit like we have to go back to basics, because I think there's a lot in the stories in the Bible that teach us about how to live our lives. And sometimes, if you walk away from the church, you also walk away from those stories. And those stories can be very transforming, and you miss out on that. And she said to me, well, I wonder about how I'm going to teach Evie, you know, the tenets of life, you know, to be compassionate, to be loving, to be kind, to be forgiving. And she, you know, doesn't necessarily want to bring her to church. And I said to her, but those stories stand alone. Those stories stand alone. And they are transforming. And I said, don't shy away from sharing those stories with her just because you're afraid that she might believe in God one day. If that's the case, then so be it. You know, show her everything and she can make her own decisions. But I think the stories are transforming, and we shouldn't forget that, and we should, in trying to make church available for everyone, we shouldn't shy away from going back into those pages and living those stories again.
My response to this question is that unless the current day church in Australia does something transformational, and I really define that in terms of sustained change, then we're going to be in dire position in the next 5 to 10 years. I think the average congregation within the Uniting Church currently, according to the moderator when I was speaking to him recently, Victoria, was around about the 40 mark. My mother attends a Uniting Church in Croydon, and you can see the demographic there, and give it time. Unless there's something that's totally transformational that happens, we are going to be, going away and not being in existence. Can I just mention a really quick project that I've just been involved in just from recent times, and trying to attempt to move into this transformational space. And whether it gets there or not is another question, but it's an attempt. It feels a little like a David and Goliath thing. But I did leverage off a number of the guests that I have on my weekly podcast and recently and ran a round table addressing the question, what would a future 2035 flourishing church in Australia look like? I was very privileged to have the likes of Hugh McKay be there, George Savides, who's chair of SBS TV, Mark McCrindle, Carly Butler, who's chair of CEO of Arrow Leadership, Sharon Callister, who's the CEO of Mission Australia, went on and on and on. But we also did have folk representing those with disabilities. We also had a gentleman representing the LGBTQ community, as well as multi-faith. So it was a very diverse round table. In fact, they only had 5 minutes each to present 5 points of how they would consider or what a flourishing church would look like in 10 years' time. And might I say is that they've at this point in time, we've funneled those points down into one document. They are going to be going back to the participants for their final approval. Then each of this document is going to be forwarded to the main leaders of the different denominations within Victoria for them to consider using it as a supplementary document for their strategic plan going forward to the next 5 to 10 years. And I know that document will end up in the Churches of Christ's hands as well, as a way of helping them going forward, because we do need to really take a good hard look at ourselves and in terms of what we can do to make a difference beyond the walls of this church, and all churches do. There are varying degrees of success, across all churches. But I do feel as though that we do need to be listening. I think we make a really wise point of listening, and asking the question. You ask the question of your son. I noticed, rather than asking ourselves, but asking the people that don't have anything to do with our church. What is it about it that is unattractive to you? What would it take for you to step back inside a church? And I think we really need to be pursuing these questions. And I think it's wonderful today, and from your previous week, John, where you've been engaging the likes of this conversation. And I wish that all churches, I would hope that all churches would do exactly the same. Because we do need to be reflecting, but we do need to be listening and asking the questions, particularly for those who are beyond the walls of our churches.
Thank you. We don't have time for a membership question. I know you're disappointed, but we do have time for some work. So on your table are pens and post-it notes. And what I'd like you to do in the next 2 minutes, so you only get 2 minutes, is jot down on separate post-it notes what you've picked up over the last 2 weeks. Just some highlights of, so I'll give you 2 minutes. Thank you.
I'll be asking the question that they have for them to ask questions. Yeah. Good. From the church, sorry.
So therefore,
All right, you can keep writing as we finish the service. Can we just thank Diane, Peter and Anne for their contribution this morning? And I know that if you want to ask some questions of either of them, they'll be around for a bit. And also I'd like to thank Diane for bringing Peter and Anne for bringing Carolyn. Thank you for also coming as well. It's great to see your partners with you as well. So thank you. So let's have a round of applause. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mary.
I think that's working again now.
Hello.
Is that okay now? Talking. No? Okay, we'll keep. No,
You guys can come back.
He's trying to the microphone.
Sorry, try it again. How are we going? There we go. Got it? Okay. Well, okay, so let's do something with that for the moment.
Lovely.
Thank you so much, all of you. It's really lovely to hear stories and thoughts from people who have put a bit of thought into it all, and we love engaging in thought things going on here, so it's just beautiful. I'm going to bring us into our time for communion with, hi John, are you getting bored? He's getting bored. She's getting bored. With a reading which is very familiar to us, but I'm going to take it a little bit further from what we usually read, because of everything that's just been said, as it turns out. For I received from the Lord what I also handed to you. This is Paul writing to the very contentious church at Corinth. That the Lord Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body that is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, he took the cup also after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink the cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. Whoever therefore eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be answerable for the body and blood of the Lord. Examine yourselves, and only then eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For all who eat and drink without discerning the body eat and drink judgment against themselves." How many people are squirming right now? Because that's often being used as a kind of, how sinful have you been? Whereas if we read the whole context, Paul is actually saying to the Corinthians exactly what we're hearing out here. If it's all fluff, if it's not about transformation, what was happening was the rich people were getting there early, eating all the food, and treating the poor people as second-class citizens, leaving nothing for them when they came from work. And Paul is saying, unless what you truly believe about that story that you're living out of actually transforms the way you live with each other, with other people in your community, all other people in your community, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. So, what a wonderful thing to think about as we come around these tables, which should be transforming every table we ever come around. We're going to sing a song which is a meditation, and it's basically all else that I think needs to be said as we come together to share. We practice an open table. You are all welcome. You are all welcome to share. And anyone who's not at a table, please feel free to come and join in a table as we join. We'll sing this song fairly slowly and meditatively. In verse 4, use your own appropriate pronouns. When we get to it, you'll see it. And just see how it takes us into an awareness of the people around us, the world around us, all of which we bring around this table so we can take that back out into the world. After we've sung it, I'll say the words of institution and we will take the bread and cup together. So we take the bread together. Recognising that as Christ's body was broken for the world, so we are called to be broken open to receive the world. As Jesus shared the cup of the new covenant, it was a statement that reconciliation is what it's all about. Reconciliation of us to each other, of us to God, of us to ourselves. And so as we drink the cup together, let us take the gift of reconciliation. Time of Prayer for the World is a meditation written by Andrew Bruce, who realised that he was on the roster, but also at the MCG waiting for his kids to come in. So I was thrilled that he offered to write something because I love the way Andrew thinks. And it's a meditation, and I invite you in this space to let your consciousness open to the world around us, to all we know that's going on, and to hold that in love. I'm just about to read the wrong piece of paper. It's called, Is It Pointless? Is it pointless? Are we throwing good hope after bad? Is this a challenge that can't be won? Hope spent on the global, the local, the public, the private, the external, the internal, the things we can influence, the things we can't, the positions we dig into, pinning us down. But then something happens. Sometimes just a glimmer on the horizon, a weird sense of anticipation. Sometimes it arrives all of a sudden, like you were looking in the wrong direction. Sometimes it comes from surprising places. Is it too good to be true? Too fragile to celebrate? Dare we accept progress even if it's not how we planned? Dare we accept compromise against what we thought was absolute truth? Dare we hope some more? Amen. Announcements. There's sure to be some. You got one?
Just a quiet day in 2 weeks, so the 25th, Saturday the 25th, 10 o'clock start. It'll be at Highfield Road and finish around 3 o'clock.
John, dish.
Dish at your house, John.
Yeah, dish is at our place next Sunday night, 6:30. Just let Sue or myself know if you come.
You beat me to it.
Oh, sorry.
That was what I was going to say. The other thing is also there's going to be another Christmas market in support of the arms school in Zambia. It was going to be on the 5th and 6th, but then we discovered that was curriculum day at school, so it's going to be on the 28th and 29th.
Yeah,
It's
the
the
last
end
one
of
was Friday, Saturday,
in November, that's right. It must be 28th and 29th. Yeah. So, and there's a meeting on Wednesday. If you have things to put in, give us a yell and I can put you in touch. They'll be looking for craft, preserves, things like that. No?
Yes, everything you can make.
Yes, things people make or what they sell. If you need jars, Barb has a house full of jars. So you need jars, just see Barb. Keep bringing them to her. She'd like to get rid of some. I think that's about all of them.
Muscle. You need muscle for setting up at the market. Two bars.
Yeah, so we will be asking closer to the date for a bit of muscle for setting up on the Friday. So I know a lot of people are going to be involved in yet another Goodwin wedding on the Saturday, but that doesn't mean you can't be there for the Friday to help set up.
It is if you're making the wedding cake.
Well, you haven't yet been recipients.
I think you're probably removed from the whole thing, so it's great. Yeah, she's just dirt lazy, that's all. Maybe we should option the wedding cake. That'd go down. Any other announcements?
Yes, it's Appreciate the Clergy Day today.
It's Appreciate the Clergy Day today. I'm still accredited.
And is our minister arriving home today?
Yeah, I think so.
So Brian is going to be back in Australia, which is very
Oh,
exciting.
okay, so we should all get in touch with Brian today. Because he's back in Australia. And I'm sure he would just love to hear from us all as he's trying to get over jet lag. He probably didn't want anyone to know he's back here. But anyway, there we go. Okay, so I think that was it. Let us end with a blessing. Blessed are those who seek the common good, even when it is not their own. Caring for those who don't care for them. Caring for those who can't or won't be good. Blessed are those who've learnt and give empathy without needing reciprocity, without needing recognition or reward. Blessed are those tireless encouragers who see the best in the worst, who see the light in the cracks of our lives, who lead us, guide us, bring us home to our hearts. May we go and do likewise. And we will, I think Michael will be the one who leads us in the Irish blessing. Thank you.
Bring up. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of their hand. May God hold you in the palm of their hand.
Lovely. John, what do you want us to do with that? Anything?
Give them to me, please.
All right, okay. Give these to John.
Yeah, that's fine.
You